Executive Secretary gave me this title. He just said industry, innovation, and infrastructure. And I introduced the IQ. And I said, well, it makes sense to me, but I added Nigeria, because unless you are talking about Nigeria, it does not make much sense. So, this is, as people are not prosperous, if people are not secured, and so on and so forth. And this desire, this policy, is not new to Nigerian leaders. In the 70s, you can see, we had Operation Feed the Nation. We believed that we could evolve a fantastic agricultural infrastructure. We believe that we can be able to mobilize and run a fantastic agricultural industry so that we can be able to constantly be innovating to feed ourselves irrespective of how our food needs changes. We did, we were there. But then something happened. We did not even write the report on Operation Feed the Nation. In the 80s, we introduced the revolution for exactly the same thing. And then later you see all these agendas by our leaders until we came to the Abachas between the mid-80s and late 90s. We did Vision 2010. We said by the year 2010, Nigeria will have very solid infrastructure, we will be industrialized, and we will be innovating like you see Americans are doing. This was the thing. And then Abacha died. Then President Obasanjo came. Many of us here, particularly those in the front row, were part of the review mechanism where we produced the NEEDS, National Economic and Empowerment Development Strategy. We were hundreds in a big hall. We could not even see the presentation to introduce the whole document to us. But you know, this is leadership, so you just presume that we are seeing, and when they ask you, are you seeing what you just said from the back? Yeah, we know what they're talking about. So we did all the reform, but we changed the date. We said that no, 2010 has passed, we should be able to achieve that in 2020. But then, when Obasanjo left, His Excellency President Yar'Adua, may God be with him, changed that needs, and we went back again. The same people that you see sitting in front here started writing the 7-point agenda. Now, to achieve still the Vision 2020. And then, the President died. His Vice President inherited, became the President. The same administration, but we changed again to transformation agenda. Again, the same. We wrote it and wrote it. And then, by 2015, President Buhari came, the whole thing changed to change mantra. I mean, if you're making a presentation anywhere, and there's a public person, if you don't put the change mantra as part of your presentation, you probably will be fired when you go back to your office. And then, now, we have elected, re-elected, but we changed to next level. But now, I am not sure whether this 2020 is January 2020 or December 2020. But we are still maintaining the 2020. So, the reason why I reviewed this for you is to demonstrate to you that this thing that we want to take our country to the next level is not new to us. Anyway, our leaders have always wanted these good things for us. We want all these young people, when they grow, to be very productive and so on and so forth. But always we have returned a bad score. In fact, if you ask anybody, and the big people are here, to give you the document that tells you why the MDGs have failed, and now we are mounting SDGs, you will not get that document. We just mount things like that. We are very good at that. But you see, the secret is 3 things. If you're serious, irrespective of what you do, whether it's industry, whether it's innovation, whether it's fixing, the first is you have to control your poverty level. If you don't control your poverty level, this devil, where basic education is not very readily available. I remember a minister went to Finland, and they took him to a primary school, and he saw primary school children putting up robotics together. And then he said to the minister in Finland, wow, this is very good. We are also trying in Nigeria. Our enrollment rate is 60%. So the minister asked, what do you mean, enrollment rate 60%? Say, oh, of our children, 60% can go to school. So the minister said, you mean 40% can't go to school? What do they do? And then the minister now realized that in Finland, in their dictionary there is no enrollment rate. It is, that English is only ours here. Why? Because we have failed at this level. If you have to spend a lot of energy to fight this, but not only this, the second on the menu is that while you are providing the basic needs, you must make sure that you give all the people in your country to lead a prosperous, happy, safe and fulfilling life. Some of these things, like the people who are talking about artificial intelligence, you have to give people skills so that they can be able to do things. And I have not seen anywhere in the world where people will go to work and then they work for 9-8 hours and then they are tired, they come home and then they eat food and then they say now it's time to go and kill some few people because we are ready now. No. Once you do not have people who are skilled and working, you will have insecurity. So you have to get to this level. And the final level is we have to make sure that our system becomes a knowledge and a learning system based on standard practices that we know. And all the impacts are very straightforward. Those people who are able to follow those three matrices, and they've succeeded, and we ourselves, they are not even introducing the third term, we call them the developed world or the first world. Because they've controlled poverty, their people have skills, their industry is working, their infrastructure is solid, and they're constantly innovating and sustaining their economies. But then other people, it used to be just America and Europe. But some people got fed up, and they followed, they learned, and adapted, and we are now calling them the emerging or the second world. The Koreas, Japan started it, and then all the Singaporeans and so on and so forth. But you see, there are countries that are very low esteem that have refused to follow. They've refused to learn, and they've refused to adapt these good practices. And those group of countries are sometimes called developing countries. When you like it, you say we are least developed. If they're giving money to least developed ones, then you are underdeveloping or underdeveloped. Irrespective of that, this bunch of countries have not followed those menus. And their common problem is poverty. So, for us talking here, that's theory. We talk about our country, Nigeria. First thing, if you look at we are 200 million people, and I show you the prosperity that we're sitting on, and we're killing ourselves. I'm a Fulani man. Milk comes from cows. We have cows in this country. What does cows eat to provide milk? Grass, corn. We have grass, we have corn. And I school in the UK, and you know, when you go early in the morning, they give you 2 bottles of fresh milk. Free. Welfare. So you drink, and then you feel good. They don't want you to come from Nigeria with your poverty and cause confusion. So they give you milk free of charge. You know. So, milk supply to your people is an index of development. And let us just say that we dream one day, we too, every Nigerian will drink a glass of milk, and other people, when they come, we will also give them a glass of milk. So let us do the mathematics. 200 million people. A glass is approximately 200 naira. 200 naira per day gives you 40 billion naira a day. Now, in a month, it gives you 1.2 trillion naira. Just milk, one glass. And in a year, it gives you 14.4 trillion naira. Remember, the 2020 federal budget is 10.59. The whole budget of Nigeria is not enough to buy a glass of milk per Nigeria. The total, we just talk like this and say, this budget is for milk. It's not enough. But I said, well, we in Adamawa State, we boast. When I was SSG, I was trying to sell this. We have the largest number of cows. I said, well, out of this 14.4 trillion naira, Your Excellency, what if Adamawa State, we can do everything to make sure that we cut a niche of 30%, we would have generated 4.32 million. But what does it take to do this? It is not about cows that are running all over the place. A cow with an udder full of milk cannot walk for 10 meters. So how come our cows can go for 2,000 kilometers? These cows cannot produce milk. Beef cows that are big and producing beef for industry cannot walk for 10 meters. They are too heavy. You have to manage them where they are. How come our cows are walking comfortably from Sokoto to Bayelsa? So, the issue is you have to know these secrets, and these secrets are subject matter of this presentation. So anyway, and now you see why we're facing insecurity. Look at the insecurity map of our country. You cannot believe this. This map has been like this since 2009. The red bit here, which is the northeast, it is from the European Commonwealth travel advice. So if you want to come to Nigeria, they give you this map. Say, let us advise you are going to this dangerous country. This red, it says, advise against all travel. Don't go there, they'll kill you. They're killing each other. And then the yellowish or orangish here, Niger Delta, bit of the middle, and then the northwest, it said advise against all but essential travel. So unless your mother is dying, don't go there. Huh? And then the greenish, the lucky ones, Lagos, all these green, it says, see our travel advice before travel. This country is a very dangerous country. Before well, I'll stop, Chairman. So, now, I think this indicates to us that we need good development agenda based on those three I's, in my opinion. And I can tell you, the agenda, the reality of agenda is, for us to achieve all this, we have to have a family, dependent vibrance and connectivity, and an efficient knowledge system hinged on science, technology, engineering, innovation ecosystem. Without that, there is just no, that's the master key, no cutting corners. It's either we continue facing each other, this one is tribe this one is you are too tall, this is gender principle, this is whatever, this is it. Without this, infrastructure will not be solid. Without this, we cannot innovate to solve poverty and build skills. And without this, our industry cannot go. So, I created a value chain, but I'll go through it very, very quickly. I said science, engineering, technology, and innovation. In Nigeria, when we say STI, we just discuss it as a subject matter one. No, these are three ecosystems. They are different. The science here, this is why you have PhD holders, the professors, they are writing papers, they are so on and so forth. If Dangote comes to this ecosystem, he cannot enter. But if you continue building only these people, you still have to import rice from Vietnam. They are not as useful as you think. I'm sorry if professors are here. But anyway, but you need another ecosystem. The knowledge that they have produced here, you need the engineers and technocrats here to now process this knowledge so that they can be able to come up with socio-economic solutions. Liquid crystal matrix is a paste. At science level, it's exciting. You can write a paper, oh, this is a liquid, excite it with voltage and it will start glittering, this is fantastic, but it is totally useless unless these people start putting it down, casting it into images, exciting it with limited voltage, and you start seeing green, blue, yellow, and they are playing. And now, these people here, what they produce, they are not particularly that useful. What they produce is intellectual property. This is why you have people who have patents, who have trademarks, who have industrial design. It means you have produced a technology that industry can trust you and be able to now you can use for trade. Now, if you see, the patent is only a piece of paper to say that this is, you thought about it, you invented it, and it is yours. You are the only one to benefit from it. But if you keep the paper like most academics and technocrats do, it is a liability. Intellectual property is like any other property. This house could be your property. If you are carrying the certificate of occupancy, which is the patent in terms of technology, in your pocket, and nobody is renting this, you have to come and clean it, you have to pay the electricity bill. When the rats are eating your cables, you have to pay. It is eating from your pocket. The same thing with intellectual property. You have to convert it to become an asset so that it can work for you. The conversion of intellectual property to become an asset is the process that moves you into the innovation ecosystem. In that, there are marketers, there are lawyers, there are traders. Everybody is in that. It is the connectivity of these three that actually works. Anyway, so look at our policy now. I just want to come back to Nigeria very, very quickly. We thought by 2020 our GDP will be $1 trillion, you know? So me and my wahala. I went around and I checked, where are the countries that are in the top 20? So that I will see who Nigeria have to be. I realized the Americans. I even went to the internet, I listed them. Up to Iran, they are number 20. And then I want to see where Nigeria wants to enter with its 1 trillion. I put the line there. So, by December 2020, we have to make sure that we surpass Iran, which is a nuclear power. We have to make sure that we defeat Turkey technologically, which is an industrialized European economy. We have to beat Taiwan, which has been an industrialized country for the last 40 years. We have to beat Australia, which is a European economy in Oceania. And we have to beat Indonesia, which is a country known to be the largest manufacturer of small aircraft parts. This we have to achieve by December 2020. Otherwise, so these young children, they have a lot to do. Anyway, but then, don't take me wrong, don't think that we are not thinking. Look at our infrastructure in terms of knowledge and many other facilities. Our research system is working. I am telling you, people are publishing. If you go to University of Ibadan today, you see this room here, and you say, I want only abstracts, book of abstracts, not the full paper. For the last 5 years, this room cannot contain it. This is how much our science system is. But when you come to the engineering and technology and you ask University of Ibadan, sir, how many patents have you got out of all that knowledge? You will see the Vice Chancellor will be scratching his head to say, I think we need to launch a study to make sure that we find out what has happened. Worst part is, if you go to the innovation and you ask University of Ibadan Vice Chancellor, how much money are you getting from your knowledge? Because I see MIT, they do research too, they are publishing, they have many patents, they are licensing these patents to industry, they are repatriating billions of naira or dollars or whatever today. How much are you getting? And then the VC will say, well, for us we are waiting for the Nigerian budget. It is not approved yet. This is the story about our system. But anyway, now, actually I can tell you, Nigeria is trying, but it needs fine-tuning. Many of you are too young, but some of us knew. There used to be a big radio with a big knob, tuning knob, and you are turning, looking for station. But then there is one tiny miserable knob. It's called fine-tuning knob. And it is only with that knob that you can get the station right. I think Nigeria needs a fine-tuning knob. We have a big knob, and we have technology, high technology, we are in space, and up down to traditional technology, we have everything, in fact. But despite all this, what tells us what is happening is that majority of our people, I mean, you can see Engineer Bele telling you, people just, I'm sorry to use the word, to shit outside. This is just not good. 70% of our population, nearly 150 million people, are in rural areas, bad areas. This is how their houses are. Despite the fact that we have a Nigerian building and road research institutes, they have technology that can change all this. But yet, we just sit like this looking at it. This is how our children go to school in rural areas, if at all, if they are lucky. And we can now sit and start saying, yeah, we're making progress. Even when they got to school, they sit on the floor. Some are under the oil palm. This is how our water supply in some lucky rural areas. It's just rivers. When you have a shitting inside here, then water boats and everything. And these are the water boats in some areas. When you talk of manufacturing sector, agriculture, I said, 2 minutes. Agriculture, I should go ahead. Okay. Agriculture sector, wait, calm down, don't take my time. Agriculture is the major employer of labor. But I can tell you the supply chain for the machinery is the blacksmith. From Sokoto to Bayelsa, it is all about bush knife, it is about hoe, and that is why that is the combined harvesters that they have been able, all of us agri-engineers, that is why when you hear people say agriculture is the major employer of labor, these are the executive directors and the MDs of those employment. And their product, you can see, so primitive, and you can see even the processing. In Nigeria, I did the survey. There are over 500 full professors in cassava technology, scattered all over the place. Yet, cassava is planted manually. It is uprooted manually. It is knifed and processed manually. You can see the gari processing is manually. And most of you even eat it manually. This is all manual our face, but we like technology from others. So, I will conclude now. You see, the fundamental hidden challenge that we don't understand is that you can have your science, but if the science is sitting there and only saying science, the science is not useful for you. You can have technology. If the technology you are using is not based on knowledge that you are cooking, it is not going to sustain your industry. You can have innovation. Everybody has telephones here. But if that telephone is not based on your knowledge, patented to produce in your country technology, that is not going to, that is what we have in Nigeria. The academias are looking at a different direction, the technical people are looking at a different direction, the innovators are looking at a different direction. What we have to realize is that from the knowledge side, up to our people who need this knowledge to develop, there is a value of death. And this value of death, until you have sense, you cannot know. And what we need to do, using conferences of this nature, is to turn the arrows, to say, hey, scientists, don't just do whatever you like to publish to become professor. Study about our Bomo. Study the Gari technology. Talk of how do you get water? How do we process water in the village? Your science has to be realistic so that the technology will be the technology that will change us, and we will continue doing this, pushing it by force until they overlap. This overlap here is the sweet spot. This is where all the technology have become products, and it is based on scientific knowledge. In some countries, this is totally like that. So if you do that, the bridge is over. Now, I will stop, but before I stop, I will beg the chairman to very quickly, I just run through this to conclude. You see, I wanted to come and talk to you about 7-point agenda of President Yar'Adua. Actually, I believed in it. It was fantastic. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. So I created an I-cubed agenda, and the agenda is called Agenda 1777. And I'll tell you, the one in the 17 in my agenda is that this country has to operate as one country. As long as we don't realize, irrespective of whether you are a Malam or Niger Delta or Yoruba man or Igbo man, that we have to coagulate to be able to look at this country as one. This thing that we're going to talk with all these children listening is not going to work. And I said, it is not about dancing. Carry Nigerian flag, say Nigeria must be one, Nigeria, then mix thief people, Igbo people, and so on. You are dancing. That is not one Nigeria. That is just enjoy your song. All right? What is going to make one Nigeria is that there must be one Nigeria project. There are certain things that we will decide to do, and everybody believes that this has to be done. And selfishly, I gave you 3 examples. I said, look at the Northeast. The Northeast, if it is not transformed, if it is not inoculated and solved, it is a problem of this country. Even if they are not hitting you, wherever you go, they will tell you, Nigeria, you are killing each other. They don't care about your Northeast region. Yeah. It's just Nigeria. Also, this basic education, out of school children, everybody has them. Unless we coagulate as one to be able to solve this, it is not going to go. And thirdly, all this you see, farmers, herders, you saw the solution strategy with milk. Again, whether you are a full animal, whether you drink milk, whether you are a farmer, it does not matter unless we come together to be able to solve it together. There are ideas in the paper on how to do this. Because there is no time, I will have to come again at another conference to expand this, to tell you exactly how we can do it. I thank you very much.